What is up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? My name is Jade, and welcome back to another episode of the I'm echoing. Ammo. Sorry. Welcome back to another episode of the Wednesday podcast. As you can see, we're still learning how to podcast. My name is Jade, as I said, and I'm joined by my good friend and collaborator, Simon Anderson. Simon, how are you?
Good afternoon, Jade. Yeah, I guess a few weeks off and you forget which button to press. Hey?
It's
the other one. You got to press the other one.
My setup is slightly different to the other one, so you'll have to forgive me. Yep, finding my way around is very difficult. Also, in the studio, if we can call it that, this afternoon, is my good friend and lovely assistant and / project manager now, Hannah. She's got a whole new title and everything going on. Hannah, how are you?
Fabulous, thanks. It's so good to be back today. I'm just wondering how you're doing today.
Me, actually, I'm doing really, really well. As Simon said, we've been gone for a couple of weeks, so it's good to be in the flow of the podcast. I'm looking forward to some of the topics we've got on top. For anyone that's watching this now or later on who has no idea what this is, Simon and I often have really in-depth and really intense conversations about the meaning of life and other subjects. So we thought, rather than just keep those conversations to ourselves, why not record them? Did I get that right, Simon?
That's right. We had these grand delusions together, convincing ourselves that we were modern day prophets of the gospel that would save humanity, and we thought, we can't keep this to ourselves.
So this is a live podcast, so if you're in the chat and you feel like you have an opinion on what we're saying, or you feel like you have something to add, please feel free to get in the chat and conversate with us. We are live on twitch.tv and at dlive.tv as well, so we welcome everybody from those places. But without further ado, as we typically do on a Wednesday podcast, I have a question of the day. Hannah, are you ready? You don't actually know what this is, because I thought about when we were in the car on the way in. So Hannah doesn't know, Simon doesn't know. Let's get it on the screen now. And the question of the day is, and this is for everybody here and at home, can your true love be someone not in your life? Can your true love be someone not in your life? Who wants to have a go first?
I will. I'll step up.
Okay.
Okay. So, if someone is not in your life, like ever...
Oh, so for a bit of context, I guess my framing of the question was, perhaps you've met them, you've had a time with them, and now they're gone, and there's like zero possibility you'll ever reconnect or do anything like that. So can your true love be someone not in your life?
Right, okay, yeah, alright. That makes a lot more sense, because I was thinking, if you never meet somebody, you don't, I mean, they could still, I guess, be what your true love, but they could never be in your life. But the way you then gave context of somebody you've met, fallen in love with somehow,
had a moment,
absolutely burnt the bridge beyond rebuilding, scorched the earth, yes, that is possible.
And you know how we do here, Simon, you have to be able to say why though.
Because you can live a life without needing that true love. It might actually be an interesting segue into the topic that I wanted to talk about.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you can still have a life without your true love. I don't know how much I prescribe to that concept as well, of one person like being assigned to you as best fit via fate. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think.
So where I am with it is, so for it to be validated as true love, you have to be the person to feel it. So I'm just wondering if it's possible to feel like you did meet your true love, but something really bad happened, and now they're gone forever.
I don't know. The way I understand love, I would never circle off what you consider true love for one person. I think it's like always very circumstantial. And you have love for like almost everybody in your life. You wouldn't have them in your life featuring if you don't have love for them. It's just different types of love. There's some love that you just prefer to see this person naked a lot more than some other person you love. Like, so I think you can direct that emotion you have inside you. Like, you have this capacity for love inside you, and you just direct it at the person you deem worthy. And I think you can have that true love directed at somebody else. I think no one person is like your true love for your whole life.
That's amazing. Hannah, you got anything to add on this? And remember, we're not trying to get into each other's personal, like, shite. Well, we're just trying to say, as a concept, what do you think?
Can your true love not be in your life?
Yes.
Well, I feel like Simon said yes, and then basically by answering it, he said it basically sounded like his understanding and his belief of love. To me, that meaning is no. So, I believe that there is, you love a lot of people, and you love people in different ways that are in your life. So, I believe if maybe what you feel is your true love, what the person that you could spend the rest of your life with, maybe things don't work out, you can't just hold it to that one person. You gotta not have that validation for one person, but love yourself, and maybe there might be somebody else that comes along that you then want to love, and then they will also be your true love. So yeah.
So I heard you say you're pretty undecided, actually. That's what I heard. Is that correct?
No, I just feel like it's more of a no. No, that person doesn't have to be in your life for them to be your true love.
So does love have to equal presence then? Like, does a person have to have presence to receive your love? I suppose it would take the heat off you and just say, for me...
Okay, that one thing then. A person doesn't need to be in your life for you to love them. Definitely not. But I think it's about the true, where I'm thinking it a bit different. I'm thinking true love. I'm thinking true, loving forever, the one person in your life forever. But yes, of course you can love someone, but not see them for years.
No, I'm talking about forever. I'm not just talking like someone you can plan to see. I'm like, they're done with you. They told you they're done with you. They're out. Don't ever call them, or they're calling the cops. Not like in a like stalkish way. Just like they've decided they don't want to deal with you anymore.
Well, I still think that you can still have love for them.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just unhealthy if you assign that person your true love. Like, you can love that person, be like, oh man, they were so fantastic. Yeah, I've got love for them. But if you start to say they're my true love, like if I just devote my life to them, they will come back to me. That's unhealthy.
Yeah.
And all of those romantic movies that like fantasize about that and that obsession will reward you, you know, have ruined people's idea of what romance is supposed to be about.
Yeah, now to be fair, I don't endorse obsession, and like if anybody in the chat has ever been through that, you know, I recommend seeing someone, but I would certainly say, what do I want to say? I'm pretty old school, so I sort of believe like true love is a thing, and like you hear about people settling all the time, like they get through life, they turn like 60, 70, and they're like, yeah, I love my husband, I settled for my husband, but it wasn't really him. So it's not so much what I believe, it's sort of what I've heard throughout my life, the idea of people settling, and I'm not trying to project anything Freudian in raising this question today, more that I've sort of told myself that like I should not settle. But back to the premise of my question though, I do worry at times whether like I don't have a sense of who my true love might have been that I've already met and stuff like that, but I do worry about whether I'm gonna be like 80 years old in a rocking chair and then suddenly realize who it was. I have a real big fear about that. That I'm gonna be 80 years old. I know that I'm gonna design my life in a way where I'll be really happy and like I've got no issues about that. But I do worry that I'm gonna be 80 in a rocking chair, sitting on my deck at home or in my very expensive care facility, and thinking, and then go, geez, now I know who it was. So this question, if we're fair, was a little bit driven by fear for me.
That's interesting. Interesting insight, Jade. I want to go back to what you said about like picking up on people in your life or in just general settling.
Yeah.
And I definitely believe there is a person out there who is the best fit for your personality and your life's trajectory where you're going. That does not mean that person will make your life easy or your relationship with them will be completely flawless. Like I think what happens is people meet someone really fantastic, they may seem like the one, and then don't do the work. Like they just don't put in enough effort to maintain a relationship, and you should never do so much work to maintain a relationship that if you take that away, there's nothing there. But if you just with somebody and don't invest in that at all, then you're doomed to end up bitter and resenting this person who you don't even really recognize or whatever. So I think there is an element, like a tiny element of people settling, but I also think they're saying that because they found somebody and then never continued to invest in that, in the health of their relationship.
You're a man after my own heart, Simon. And going back to what you said about, you know, it probably isn't always going to be easy with your true love. I cannot agree with that more in terms of I have discovered over my life that I'm allergic to people pleasers. Like most guys want a girl that would say yes to everything. I mean, it sounds like a recipe for success. But if I'm trying to get to know someone and all they want to do is agree with me and all they want to do is do the plans that I'm coming up with, and they don't really challenge me, or like I expect friction in a relationship to a healthy extent, to be challenged in my ideas, to be challenged in my comfort zone, to be you know, I want someone in my life to broaden my idea of what life is. I don't want them saying, "Oh, I want you to be my whole thing," because if I'm their whole thing and my whole thing, then I'm spending a lot of time being a whole thing. Do you get it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, coming over to Clive over on Twitch. Clive says, "Can you be sure I'm not your true love, Jade?" Clive, I can't be sure of that, actually. I can't be sure of that.
There's only one way to find out.
And
but
I think...
Are you willing?
I think one thing you actually said, though, Jade, is that, you know, there's people who come out of, you know, 30, 40-year marriages, and then they realise, well, I just settled for that person. Well, I don't think that they've actually truly gotten over that their original love, and actually seen that there isn't a way forward with the other person, and look at who they have now and not at what the other person did for them and how they made them feel, but actually the person that they're with. Like, it almost feels to me like they don't let go of the other person, so it impedes and impacts on the way that they then feel about their long-term husband, you know, or long-term wife.
Yeah, and I've read lots of things about how people always compare their future to like their first or a couple of first relationships. I think to a certain extent, depending how old you are, there's some truth to that. But as you get into your late 20s and 30s, I don't necessarily believe that's how people conduct themselves. I certainly don't seek out the same person I was seeking out when I was like 17, for example. Would you agree, Simon?
I would say I'm just trying to run like a mental inventory check on the women that I find interesting and where are the patterns. And yeah, it's not good news.
Oh no, okay. Alright, so maybe for some people it is like that, but you know, each to their own, no judging. And with that, Simon, I'd really like to lead in with your topic for the day, if that's alright, because as you said, perfect segue.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what you are both bringing to the table is some topics, is some facts, but I guess mine's more just like a topic of discussion, and I just wanted to hear both of your perspectives on the topic. But basically, it's come from a personal. We were talking about this, you know, off air. It's come from a personal development angle for myself, in that I've realized if I wanted to be successful, and if I wanted to, I wanted to be able to be on my deathbed and pass over like easily. And I realized that one of the biggest things that will hold me back from achieving that is the need for external validation. It's like hardwired into us from when we're a kid. You know, you do any task and your parents go, "Great job, Timmy, you're the best." And you go, you know, your brain fills with dopamine, and you just think, "Oh yeah, this is the greatest feeling. Somebody likes me." And then you just go about your life trying to reenact that feeling. You know, you get your friends feed into it. Your love life feeds into it. Your work, school, pretty much every aspect of your life, there is an opportunity to receive external validation for things that people deem good. And so, you know, this has been a bit of a personal journey to try and remove that from my life, and
Can we start from a place of, okay, how bad do you think it was for yourself?
Oh, well, I've talked about it on previous podcasts about identifying as a people pleaser, like,
okay.
And I've had this internal monologue a lot. Is like, am I just a people pleaser chasing some dragon, like, or is it just part of who I am, where I genuinely care for other people and act to benefit others? And it's really tough because it's not clear. It's really not clear, because that feeling comes regardless of what the motivation behind it. Like, if you're trying to do something good because you know you'll feel good, or if you're just trying to do something good because you know it's the right thing to do and it's something that you enjoy doing, like, it's very hard to pick up the difference. And it's taken me a while to feel confident, because you get to the point of realizing, oh shit, am I just doing this to just receive the validation? And then you've got to work through and say, well, no. Like, I had to make sure in my head I was certain that what the things that I would do that could be considered people pleasing, sometimes it was, but a lot of the time it is just part of my nature to want to do those things. So that was like a really hard battle, I guess, for me. And just now I'm getting to the point where it's like, work, I guess, is a big part of now being a professional. It's like, your work is a big part of your life. It allows you to enjoy certain luxuries and participate in different things in society, and so you hold some value to your job. But then there's also your co-workers and stuff like that. It's just trying to limit as much external influence on your internal emotion as much as possible. Like, say I deliver a project at work, I'm really chuffed about a successful part of my job. The CEO says, great stuff, Simon, that was really awesome. And then, I walk around with this really high, feeling for the rest of the day. It's just managing that part of it. It's being able to acknowledge that other people find value in what you do, but it's not what you're reliant on, and it's not the driving factor behind what you're trying to achieve. And I'm not there yet. Like, I'm sure it'll be a continuing act, or something that I have to try and work on. But yeah, it's just something that I've placed an importance on, and I guess it was just something I wanted to talk about with you guys, is what your experience with it is, and anything you've done, or it's like the kind of conversations I've had with myself in the past about, you said, Jade, you feel pretty zen in this regard, so it's just a pretty cool topic to talk with you about.
Yeah, so I'll probably start off by going to your example around work. So I'm actually very cynical about work. So I realized from an early age, I think I was like 14, that I never, ever wanted to make somebody else rich. Like I would do what I needed to do for me, but my end goal was not to be successful in somebody else's company. It was to get the resources I needed from somebody else to make me successful. And we were talking offline, and I don't mind sharing. I hope you're okay with it, Simon. Like we were talking about the fact, we were discussing that I'm potentially not that compatible with working life, because I've got my own opinions, and not that I have trouble with authority, but I have pretty strong value positions on things, and sometimes they can be incompatible with business. And I accept that. And my most recent Zen moment was realizing that like, way back when I was 14, and I made the realization that I didn't want to make somebody else rich, that I just wanted to be rich and help other people. Yeah, that made me really incompatible with work. But because a lot of people are encouraged to do well in a company, and they can even be compensated relatively well. Like I don't mind saying, in all the places that I've worked, I was always compensated above market. Like, I have nothing to complain about as far as my conditions in work, but I just simply did not want to make somebody else rich. So that's the first part. In terms of social validation or getting cheers from people, I think one of the paradoxical things about being disabled is that is all flipped on its head. Like, people's expectations of you lower to detrimental levels. So if you get up out of bed in the morning, people clap for you. I mean, it's not that, like, for me, it's certainly not at that level. I'm just giving an example that society as a whole doesn't really expect people with disabilities to do all that much. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's not a disability only thing that happens now. Like, you see it, I guess I've seen it more on social media now due to the pandemic, but I see posts pop up and it's like, if you got out of bed, if you showered today, if you had a breakfast, you like, this year or whatever has made people's mental state so fragile, or has broken some people so badly, that just basic human functioning is the bar to celebrate. I mean, I don't know if I'm being insensitive, I really don't know, like, if but it's just some people who I follow with my social media space have highlighted that, you know, we live in a very sheltered, safe, luxurious world, mostly, compared to our ancestors, and
yeah, no question.
Yeah, and like the absence of problem has created problems for us, and that, you know, we've got to the point where just getting up, just surviving a day is worth celebrating. I kind of wanted to just bring up something that also I found on social media. It's like a quote from this, I think in like an ancient samurai. His name was Miyamoto Musashi.
Wow. And, okay. Yep.
Yeah, and the quote is, "Inside, I am infinite." And basically what that means is that it's, if you remove everything from your life, okay, I'll do what's personal to me, so my job, my family, surfing, going to the gym, my friends, music. Like, if you removed everything that from your life and you stripped it down to just you, like, how are you then? Like, you got to try and put yourself in that perspective and say, can you manage there? And that's what that's saying. Inside, I am infinite, is that inside here, inside me, I am everything. I require nothing. So it's like a state of being, I guess. I think it was pretty cool.
No, I get that, and I think in terms of the external validation that you speak of, I think people look for compass points. Like, because we are so infinite, people look for compass points. So, if I have big titties, that means I'll be like, or if I'm real buff, if I go to the gym and I'm like hard as a man, that means like I'm a man, because I don't know what a man is, so I gotta have somebody tell me. I think that's part of the thing. And I suppose, again, for me, being a person of difference, it's sort of like the unintended benefit of being somebody so... I don't consider myself so different, but just for the sake of conversation, the benefit of being so different to everybody else is that, like, I felt like I had to design my purpose, my being, from ground up. So that whole thing about being infinite, I probably haven't heard it that way. It's definitely struck a chord with me. But I've had to design everything that I believe about myself and everything that I portray. Yeah.
I'd say that lucky, or not lucky, but it's helpful for you that you didn't either align with or find the standard compass points ideal or, you know, worthy of your time. So what, you know, the normal aspirations just you didn't ever consider being part of your life. So yeah, you just got you got straight to the point of thinking about what is important for you, instead of, you know, this massive hurdle that most people go through of trying to align their life to make other people think they're great. And then,
I think one of the things about that is I had no choice. So it's not like I was ever going to be captain of the first 15. It's not like I was ever going to be like that guy at all the parties, because most people's houses had stairs. So it was kind of like natural selection in reverse. Like I had the opportunity to avoid things that would lead people down bad paths, and then I had the unfortunate job of carving out my own path, because I felt like based on the societal messages I was receiving, people were just like, oh, if you stay home, it'll be like all good. Just stay home every day and do nothing, and nobody will actually expect anything from you. And that was confronting. And you're right, Simon, maybe there was something inside of me that said, oh, nah, I can't really go down like that. There's got to be something a bit more for me. And I'm fortunate to be able to say, like, I've navigated a lot of adversity this year. You know, being a disabled person in COVID was pretty scary, and I had a lot of circumstantial changes as well. But like, you know, I've learned to let go of all expectation, because expectation always leads to disappointment. So whatever in front of me, I just deal with it and try to do it with positive energy and just move forward.
Yeah, I like the removal of expectation. The book that I, you know, I've talked about a couple of times and I've read and changed my life. They talk about expectations and hope as being misaligned with reality. It's assessing what is and either expecting or hoping or wishing for something different, which just will always cause problems.
I don't endorse hope, but I do endorse imagination. Go ahead.
I guess when I think of hope and how that's affected my life, is that you can say it's the opposite. Like, I went through a phase where, you know, I was 18, finished school, and then I was in and out of hospital, not very aware, and then all my friends went off and that I was kind of at school with, or around that time, they either went on an OE or went off and did whatever, and I was in hospital. And then for me, it was kind of like I didn't know what or where I was going, and I was kind of hoping, well, I don't want to be in hospital for the rest of my life. And then I realised that a couple of years later that I'd actually become quite a people pleaser and accepting of things, and I didn't really know how to own myself now being a blind woman. So that was a bit difficult, but then now I've realised I've stripped away all those people and I don't need those people. A lot of them were toxic. A lot of them weren't actually there to support me, and I recognise that it's about me only, and not about anybody else. But you know, it's about how does it make me feel achieving something before I even present it to somebody.
That's an interesting point, Simon. I did want to ask, based on what Hannah just said, was this newfound realization or zen finding for yourself? Have you dropped off some people you associate with, or is it not to that extent yet?
I don't know if it's like 100% attributed just to that fact. It is happening, like in my circle of association is like shrinking then and sliding. You know what I mean?
I like that. Yeah, it does slide. Like it doesn't stay at its central point, because your central point, your beliefs shift as well. And I believe if your beliefs aren't shifting, because I used to be a raving liberal once before, would you believe? And now we all know I'm libertarian and stuff like that. But no, it does move. It does move. So I'm really glad, Simon. But you have noticed the shrink.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. Yeah, it's just life is quite busy, and I've just take more time for myself.
I like that. And Hannah, to your point about having to carve people away, I suppose I've always lived my life like I have friends, not gonna lie, like I got friends from uni and stuff like that, but my core is really small, and I'm glad Simon's part of that core as well. And that comes down to I connect with people that I can sense are willing to collaborate. Like it's not all just me. Like you get a sense of people where it's like you just doing for them, and there's no like return benefit. Whereas my circle is all about we can do lots of things for each other, and we have a good time. Think about how we can support one another and things like that. That's what
and that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. How I recognised within myself what I really needed to do, and actually there was some really toxic people, and what the only thing that they wanted from me in my life, and there was no collaboration. It was just like, well, you can pay for this, okay, and it was like nothing about my personality, nothing about what I can give, and that kind of aligns with my topic for the day, actually. Yeah.
And dudes will say anything to get a nut. Trust me, I used to be one of those. Yeah. So good topic, Simon. And can I just say, really stoked for the journey you're on, and I hope you'll give us updates, and whatever we can do for you, please let us know.
Cheers, appreciate it. Yeah, you'll get as well. You'll see me start levitating from my chair, and there'll be like a glow around me as I reach full enlightenment.
And I suppose before we do move on, like shrinking of circle is one thing, but have you started to feel? I don't know if I'm leading the question or anything, but I mean it genuinely. Like, have you sort of felt like incompatible in a lot of spaces where you used to be, or?
I've felt that for like just
really
my whole life. I don't know. Yeah, like just every place in school, like, and then in university, and then even in work. It's like it's a Terence McKenna quote, and it's, I don't know if I've said it before on this live stream or not. It's, well, I think it was just privately. It's the price of sanity in a crazy world is a certain degree of alienation. And like I protect.
Wow! Say that again so we can clip that.
Yeah. So it's the price of sanity in this crazy world is a certain degree of alienation, and it. Wow. I take that as I've struggled to see myself in anyone else completely. Like I can identify and relate with aspects of people, but I've never really found anyone be like, yep, that guy or that person is like just like me, or they see the world, really similar. They things just effortlessly understand it by them, and vice versa.
Yeah.
I just haven't experienced that, and there's something else that goes with that, and it's if you don't feel like you belong in the world you're in, perhaps you're built for the world you're building.
Woo! Who said that? Who said that?
I'm not sure where I've heard that from, but I've heard it a couple times. But yeah, I like that as well.
That is so deep. Simon, you need to find us a reference for that. I'm not sure how we're going to follow this guy tonight, actually, Hannah, because we just got really small. Well, I don't know if my topic's small, and I don't know if your topic is small either, but while Simon's Googling, we might just lean into the next one, and I was going to let you go first. So you're going to talk to us about the concept of choosing beggars.
So the really interesting thing, we've actually just started watching a bit of YouTube where this channel is solely about choosing beggars, and the interesting thing,
Simon put his hand up. Sorry.
Oh, just so that I've found who has said it.
Please let us know.
Ross Kelly Kelly. Oh, no.
Do you just want to link it in chat, or?
I'd have to open Twitch on my computer and everything. Yeah, I can do, but the actual quote is, if you feel like you don't fit into the world you inherited, it is because you were born to help create a new one. It's from Dreaming in the Shadows. Ross Kelly Giuri, some Italian name.
My goodness me. Sorry, Hannah, false start. Please.
Yeah, apologies.
Please, go ahead.
So, choosing beggars. The interesting thing that I was finding out today, I thought, yeah, that always happens all the time. Okay, didn't realise there was an actual name for it. And then I was just having a look, and there's actually a meaning in the dictionary about choosing beggars. I literally looked it up. I know it's not the best dictionary, but Urban Dictionary.
Okay, so tell us, what is a choosy beggar?
So, a choosy beggar is a person who expects something for very little,
or nothing
in return, but it's not only that then they are very picky on it. So, for example, say somebody gave them your Netflix login, and then they go and complain to their friends, where they're not paying any money. They go and complain to your friends. Oh, so why aren't you paying for the premium version though? It's also situations like they will look on, Trade Me and eBay and places like that and find things, and certain things will be for free, and then they'll say, oh, well, you'll deliver to my house, won't you? Yep. And you have to do that. Oh, okay, it's $400.
Arville in the chat thinks we're British. He obviously hasn't heard Australian accent before.
New Zealand? Jeez.
I mean, New Zealand, yes.
Jeez, definitely not Australian.
I was trying to throw him off, actually. Hannah, go with me on this one.
So
we saw this one, just to explain a bit more about choosy beggars. Like, this is a particularly extreme example, but there was this one guy, he was on his 5th house. He was about to close a deal on his 5th house, and his brother had like 4 kids, and he actually saved up enough money to buy like a 4-bedroom home, like outright, without even a deposit. This was, this was the person in question, but he could not understand why his brother that had 5 houses would not just give him one. And this is the whole thing. I don't know if I'm dancing on real thin ice here, but I've definitely experienced situations where people very close to me, family members even, like, just have really intense expectations. I'm hopeful you haven't experienced this, Simon, but we identified that Hannah and I definitely have.
And there's one other example that you know,
I haven't bought anybody a house yet. I will say that just to clarify that I've not bought anybody a house.
That they gave online. They said a person who is a choosing beggar, the choosing side of them will probably meet the hottest girl in the world, but will never be able to make a relationship out of it because there's constantly something wrong and there's constantly something picky about it.
Wow.
That's not right. So there's like all these different examples. You know, somebody saying, oh, you know, $3,000 MacBook online. Another thing that a choosing beggar will often do, will often refer and say lines like, oh, well, my husband just committed suicide. Oh, my dad just died.
I deserve it for free.
Oh, my kids will be heartbroken. Tell them yourself that you can't give me it for their Christmas present.
Really intense.
And, you know, the experience that we've had, that I've experienced is, you know, oh, you know, you can buy me this since you're going to hang out with me. But it's like they were the ones who asked to hang out with me in the first place. And then I've also had it the opposite way of the threatening way, like, I do for you, I do for you, I do for you. Okay, nah, see you later, I'm done with you, don't want anything to do with you. And then I said, okay, that's fine, see you later. And then they come back around and they said, I never said that. No.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know, choosy beggars, have you ever heard of that, Simon?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've seen, you know, a few websites dedicated to exposing examples of that, and I think that they're pretty funny. In work, a very recent example is somebody
here we go,
who's like demanded some additional support to use our systems, and we're like, yeah, no, that's sweet, of course, you know, we can make an exception, we'll get someone to help you, and then they go and demand that it happens like instantly, not regarding the fact that everybody else, you know, everybody at work has a job, is employed to do work, you know, for 40 hours a week, and you're adding to that work, you know, meetings and other fixed timed work, you know, just doesn't allow us to be able to respond to your every whim at a time that suits you. I mean, that's probably like the most recent example that came straight to my head. Very minor in the terms of like how it affected me, but you know, because it wasn't to do with my personal life. But I know examples are flooding forward in a personal life.
Oh no, that's good. Well, you've been able to avoid the minefield of people's unrealistic expectations of your time and money.
The biggest.
I think if somebody asked me to do something for them, or I offer to do something nice for me, and then they try and change the terms, if they're in my personal life, I can tell them to get fucked. Like, I don't offer my support to people I don't think I have the right to to hold that space, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I wouldn't go out of my way to somebody who's then gonna like hold over me like, oh, well, you need to do this for me, blah 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 blah. I mean, if I say, yeah, I can help you out, and then become a chooser and a demanding things, well, it happens how we agreed on it, or it doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose the wild thing for me around Choosy Beggars is like, when it's occurred for me, it happens so wild and like it can just be an out of the blue request. Like I think the other day I was asked if I had a spare Apple laptop, and I'm like, no, all of my laptops I kind of use. So it's just little things like that, like wild. Like I'm not even in conversation about it. Like, do you have a spare Apple laptop you wouldn't mind giving? No.
Like, maybe I just don't give off those sort of vibes, James. You gotta stop acting like you're made of money, mate.
Oh, mate, tell me about it. I go around flashing my stuff all around town. Jeez, I don't know what it is, but Hannah, thank you for that.
One other thing I was just gonna say, with your example, Simon, it really triggered one thing that an example that I heard online, which I thought was so amazing. So a lady was at a shop, and she'd purchased something, and she'd been charged 10 cents too much, and then she started demanding for it to be automatically refunded onto her card, and then it got a bit heated.
She was overcharged by 10 cents,
and the store manager said, "I'm really sorry, it's gonna take a day to process, but it'll be in your account tomorrow." And he literally went into the cash register and also then got 10 cents out, so it's 20 cents. Well, she got so irate and angry, she then knocked over the stand and created $10,000 worth of damage. So,
and she was dragged away and she was sued for $10,000
over 10 cents. So
just because she wanted her 10 cents immediately transferred into her account. And I don't know what it's like in other countries, but definitely in New Zealand it doesn't work like that. If you're going to get a bank transfer, it's at least the next day, depending on what time, but sometimes longer.
Yeah, I just thought, wow.
So, what an amazing point to end that on, Hannah. And speaking of choosy beggars, I'd like to move now to a topic that may not be front of mind for everybody, but certainly was for myself. The royal family. Now, this comes off the back of the new Netflix series, now in its 4th season, Royals, now available on Netflix.
The Crown.
Is it The Crown?
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm even calling it the wrong thing. Thank you, Hannah. That's why we're a team.
Yep.
Yeah.
So The Crown, now in its 4th season on Netflix, pretty much everywhere. I believe it's a Netflix syndicated series. It got me thinking about the royal family, and I want this less to be a discussion from me and more of a round circle conversation. I just want to do a bit of a whip around. We'll start with Simon. Simon, do you give 2 fucks who the royal family are?
Potentially like 0.5 of a fuck, maybe. Like, we're in the Commonwealth. They could potentially come in. I don't own any land, so I guess I don't care that much. But they could potentially just pop up in our country and just make wholesale changes and cause some sort of war to break out based on it. There's a little bit in my brain that cares about the royal family just because of the influence and the money they're sitting on, and how bizarre it is that they all just interbreed and keep their bloodline as pure as possible. It's kind of weird,
pure or not, may I say. Does it worry you that some old lady in England owns everything in this country, including the land which people think they own? Like we have a thing in New Zealand called title to land. Well, we don't actually own it. We've just purchased the privilege of being able to stay there and build something. You do realize that, don't you?
I mean, I understood the fact that royal family could decide to take your land, but I didn't understand the legal mechanism as you just described it.
Yeah, so the only two entities in this country that can own anything are Māori and the royals. So as subjects of the royal family, we can have title to land. We can engage in commerce and agriculture on land, and we can purchase that privilege to do that. But at any point in time, your house, my house, everybody's house can be taken unless it's under the guardianship of an iwi.
Interesting fact that the British monarchy dates back to the 10th century. So they've been around for 1,000 years. Imagine being able to accumulate wealth for your family over 1,000 years.
You'd have to have some really clued up people working on it, because you'd have, like, in terms of project management, Simon, I've not known too many 1,000-year projects, but I wouldn't put it past the fact that the first king, whatever his name was at the time, may have actually decided, all right, we're going to take this planet and we're going to do it like this. And he probably said to himself, I'm not going to be here to take it all, but let's put a plan in motion and let's take the whole thing. I mean, because the royal family even preside over African nations. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, colonization spread the British Empire far and wide.
So, Hannah, going back to my original question, do you give two fucks who the royal family are?
No, I go back a few years, and when William was married, and I just remember that night I was at home, but my flatmates at the time, they were like fascinated, they might have been mocking it, but they were just fascinated with the royal wedding also. And I'm just like, they're just two random people who gives two shit.
You mean William's wedding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really don't care, unless it is personally affecting me. No. And I definitely do not fully understand how, New Zealand sits in the Commonwealth, and also what the Queen actually does for our country.
Interestingly, I do own land, and Hannah, you've come to know this, but not in this country.
Yeah.
in Rarotonga, my parents own land, and by virtue, I will inherit it. Simon, would you be fascinated to know that my family owned the land that airport's on in Rarotonga?
Wow, so you are rich, bro.
Like I can assure you, my grandmother is managing all that, and I don't have any overflow benefits of that yet. So yeah.
You're not receiving any dividends from the Rarotongan airport?
I can honestly say whatever money's in trust or whatever money's being exchanged, my grandmother's keeping that real tight. Yep.
Close to her chest.
Yeah, I have not received any benefits of that at all. And I think we own a couple of pearl farms, black pearl farms, on one of the smaller islands. Why I raise this is the royal family also have an impact on Rarotonga. but the truce was much clearer, whereas Rarotongan people could retain ownership of their land, which is really nice. And I suppose key strategic, I don't even know what you call them, key strategic resource areas of the island have the British government have like some role in that. Like they have a role in the airport, they have a role in fisheries and stuff like that. I don't know it all, but I just know that the royal family has an influence there, but no one seems to feel like hard done by the arrangement. I think they like the fact that New Zealand has an obligation to Rarotonga, so we have an open visa relationship with Rarotonga. You can go back and forth for as long as you like with no threat of overstaying. That goes for Rarotongans coming here or New Zealanders going there. You can stay there for 2 years if you can afford it. And
hashtag Pacific travel bubble.
Well, since we bring it up, you know, was that sort of hinted at this afternoon? I saw some kind of article in the news.
I've heard it thrown around a bunch of times. And aren't they currently COVID free?
Yes. So Rarotonga is keen to get New Zealanders back because tourism is a massive economic driver for them.
Didn't I see like 90% of their income comes from tourism?
Something like that. A strange amount of their economic viability comes from tourism.
They should legalize weed like we couldn't, and then have Rarotonga as like this cool, chill island.
Interesting fact. I know we're going off track because this wasn't Rarotonga. Definitely wasn't a topic for today. But did you know it's still illegal to be gay in Rarotonga?
Oh wow! I knew there was a reason why I wasn't going there.
Yeah, it's still illegal to be gay, and I remember that we were just sitting having dinner in our suite, and it just came up on the news that it was a backup for a re-litigation. I just thought that was fascinating. It's got no relevance to our conversation today, but it just goes to show maybe we haven't progressed in every nation of the world in terms of stuff like that.
No, not quite.
I think it was last episode or maybe the dinner that obviously no one here was invited to, where I just said, you know, I'm not really... I don't understand the politics behind the rainbow community. I think it is time to just let people be who they are, eh, Simon?
Yeah, I mean, we had that conversation where I figured it out, where you're living in the future, and the rest of the world hasn't caught up to it.
Yeah, that's right, I do remember.
I'm wondering, Jade, if you could take me off screen for a couple minutes, and I'll be back in a second.
Oh, no problem, mate. No problem. Thanks for the heads up.
No worries.
So Hannah, I haven't even got part way through what I actually wanted to talk about, but I think we'll wait for something to come back.
So can I just talk about the Crown Natural series? So it was really interesting actually. We were in a business meeting the other day and somebody said, "Oh well, you're too young to know," but referring to the Crown, and it was really funny. We're like, no, we know the episode. Yep, know exactly know what you're talking about. And she was a bit flushed.
Who was that?
That was when we were down at the
I do remember that conversation. I'm just trying to remember who it was with.
That was when we were down at the shared offices.
Oh, I know who it was now. Yep.
I just thought instead of saying her name, just say it like that.
Yeah.
So that was really nice, and then, you know, it was really fascinating watching this this season of The Crown. Previous seasons, it's been great. We know it's not a documentary, but we know
it's drama. It's fake.
It's going off, a lot of news reports and a lot of interviews and things like that. But I think this season was the most season that you could actually say they would have had the most documentary footage from
evidence of
when there was Charles and Diana travelled to Australia, there would have been evidence for the show to be able to pick up on. So it's most kind of realistic that I felt, and it was really interesting in certain parts of The Crown to actually understand the journey and the development of this. Now, I don't necessarily give two shits about it, but it was fascinating for actually the way that the royal family is portrayed to us as this happy family and everything's perfect. Well, that's not what we understood.
So I thought that it'd be really interesting, and this is not a criticism by any means, but I thought it would be really interesting for us to get into the financials of the royal family, and for the sake of simplicity, what I actually have is the expenditure just for the Queen, just to keep it simple for today. And if you want to do some research for yourself later on, I can put the link in chat. I'm just gonna put the
Jade getting those things up. Have you watched past the bit? Does it cover where Diana gets in the car crash? Is that?
No, this season stops well before any of that. So in regards to Diana, she's actually alive and well.
But it does discuss how there's infidelity. There's talk of her
and Camilla. What was the whole deal?
Her cheating, and then it's talked about from maybe day one, from when Charles first met Diana. He was hanging around with Camilla, so. And
like even before he met Camilla, which was really fascinating.
Even before he met Diana.
Diana, sorry, yep.
Yeah, he was hanging out with Camilla, and she was married at the time and had kids, so that was not approved. So
ruthless cougar.
Yeah.
MILF.
Yeah. Have you seen the guy who they propose as Harry? Harry's dad. Is it Harry?
Charles?
No, it was...
No. There's like a security guard,
yeah,
I think, working for Diana at the time.
Yeah.
Because Harry's a ginger one, is it?
Yeah.
And yeah.
And that's what I said, Harry is so not Charles's.
Yeah.
Nah, not at all.
So, yeah, they do actually mention that she was with a security guard and her...
few football players.
And her horse riding coach. Now, it was never able to be confirmed, but, and, how much of it is true, and where's genetic testing? Me and Jade had this debate at the sort, did the royal family even go about and bother about genetic testing, because that would bring shame to them? So
they would know what the truth is, whether it was or not, and they would never risk confirming that with a DNA specialist and having it be able to be leaked.
Yeah.
Like, if that person did a DNA test, they would get taken out to prevent that from coming out eventually. And on the topic of being taken out, before you get to your stuff, Jade.
Sure.
Did Diana really die in a car crash? Oh, she definitely died in a car crash.
I was going to say.
Was it an accident?
Well, they do have security footage from, like, before she leaves this hotel and stuff. Like, I've seen all that.
So she looks pretty sketched out, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. And, I don't know, when you're a family of resources that dominate half the planet, you know, it's kind of like, can you get away with your life if you don't agree with how they roll? And sort of, as you say, before I get to the stuff, you look at Meghan Markle, being an American, she's got no time for this shit.
She took Harry and gapped it.
No wonder he had to abdicate. He had to say, I'm no longer going to be royal, I'm going to be a private citizen. Comparatively to his brother, he will receive a small remuneration. I'm not sure that we could call his remuneration very small, though. A handful of $1 million versus whatever his brother has access to per year. And yeah, I don't know. He's needing to go to work and do speaking engagements for money, which I think is really great. What I also like about Harry is that, like his brother, he served in the military. So, mad respect for that. I've got a lot of love for the military. My great-grandfather was in World War II. So, lot of respect for military forces.
I believe also my great-grandfather. Yes. Great-grandfather Sonny Anderson. He had a scarf, like just a normal scarf, blessed by a local tohunga, or like I guess like a shaman of the Māori variety, blessed the scarf, and he had it wrapped around his head under his helmet.
Wow.
And you got hit in the head by grenade shrapnel or something like that, and they reckon if it wasn't for this scarf, it would have killed him, and then I wouldn't be here.
That is pretty amazing.
Yeah, interesting story.
So, not to delay any further, but I'll just come to the financials of the royal family. Simon, hopefully you'll be interested in this. So this cover, well, they've given us 2 columns. They've accounted for the 2019 year, and they've also accounted for the 2020 year. Now this is a severe summary. I'll provide the link in the chat so you can look this up for yourself later on if you wish to, and I'll make sure it's in the description box on the YouTube clip. But let's just start with the big number. 2019, the Queen and her family spent $67 million on their household expenses.
£1 million.
£1 million. My apologies. 2020, they spent £69.4 million.
Wow.
Just to break some of those down in the high-level columns, their payroll costs for all their staff, maids, ladies in waiting, security and things like that, 2019, £23.2 million.
Wow.
2020, £24.4 million. Other staff costs not disclosed. There might be close protection officers contained within this. £4.5 million in 2020, £3.5 million in 2019. So that's $1 million increase. Maintenance of their property. This is hopefully interesting.
This is what I was quite interested.
So maintenance of the property in 2019, £37.8 million.
Far out, no way.
And in 2020, £38.3 million. Travel expenses for Her Royal Highness and her husband, Prince Philip, just for that year, and I think this only accounts for within Britain, actually. 2019, $4.6 million. 2020, $5.3 million. The utility expenses for the family. Power, water, telephone, and broadband, I'm assuming. $2.9 million in 2019. And $3.1 million in 2020. I can't reconcile that number myself, but their house is pretty big. So I don't know how many active phone lines they have. And the last one I'll pull out. I'll pull out the last two as well. So housekeeping and hospitality, $2.6 million in 2020, $2.3 million in 2019. So that's how much they pay for scones and dinner.
Yeah, so that's what I was just going to say. Housekeeping and hospitality, yeah, okay, yeah.
And then the last one I really want to call out is the royal family's use of information technology. Expenses in 2020, £4.2 million. Expenses in 2019, £3.8 million.
How do you justify that massive other category at the bottom, though? It's bigger than most other expenses. $7.2 million in 2020.
Well, I think that's the Royal Highness's petty cash, actually.
That's the price they pay to take out all the dissenters. That's their security and hitman squad.
Yeah, I think that's her dairy money, that one.
That's what she gets for doing her chores.
Yeah. So there's a bit of explanation here, and I've only downloaded the summary. But if you I don't know if you can see that. If you look at the royal.uk website, there's actually full disclosure. And I didn't want to go through it because we'd be here all day, and this is not a financial podcast. But I just thought by raising it would be somewhat interesting to the viewers at home. So Simon, what do you make of those kind of figures?
It's mind-boggling. I mean, actually, I probably was expecting higher. I mean, because you told me what you were bringing to the table, and I was preparing myself for just exorbitant figures.
So you don't find those exorbitant at all?
The royal family of a massive European superpower. I guess there's like hundreds, or there'll be thousands of royal properties, and lots of them will be hundreds of years old and hundreds of acres. So I feel like there is a lot of money to be spent. Like, you know, when you're in the rich sphere, money just burns really easily. You know what I mean? Like, just the cost for anything go up because you're just rich. You just pay for everything.
And
so I feel like it's quite easy for them to just spend money on shit.
And like, you know, doormen, and like the Queen doesn't open her own doors, like this is like entrenched in law kind of thing in England. Like, she doesn't open her own doors. Everybody that comes into a room that she's in legally has to be announced. Can you imagine that? Like, you gotta pay somebody to announce someone coming into a room.
It's pretty amazing. She'd have more paid staff around the palace than actual royals. And the thing that really blows my mind, and I completely disagree with, is You know, I've been trying to figure out from you, Jade, is this just for the one property or is this for the hundreds of properties?
Oh, man, I didn't research too deep, but what I could gather is that was just for the palace.
So just for Windsor Castle?
Just for Windsor Castle, yeah.
So just for the one property?
And they've got a few. They've got Cornwall. What are some of the other ones they've got? Like the prince's expenses are mentioned in there, but they're ring-fenced just for him.
Yeah.
So he's got a whole nother set of expenses.
Oh, really?
Prince Charles.
Uh-huh.
He's got a whole nother like wing of staff and situations around him.
Oh yeah, because he lives in
Prince Andrew and his pedophile budget.
I wonder if you can find that in the accounts. I wasn't looking for pedophilia, but maybe.
I just can't wrap my head around the 37 million on
maintenance.
Maintenance. You know, and then there's a separate line for, you know, taking into account, you know, the phone power and all those things like that. But $37 million over 30, so that's $72 million over 2 years.
We keep saying dollars. Sorry, Simon.
7 million pounds over 2 years. It is like
unbelievable.
74 million pounds over 2 years. So it's like, well, it's a big property. Well, how much of that is actual maintenance, or how much of it is deciding to just remodeling? No, I'll just remodel. Not actually looking after properties.
There's probably a lot of people like filling their pockets off of the royal family, like, you know, submitting fake invoices from imaginary contractors and all sorts. Like, I wonder how badly it's inflated by fraud.
Nah,
you know, like with the property and stuff, I just had the thought, it's not like you can pop down to the local Bunnings and just replace that fitting. Like, everything in that, everything in that property is bespoke, custom. It's like, oh no, the handrailing's broke. Can you get a new twisted metal wrapped gold, you know, diamond encrusted handrail made?
Nah, Simon has a good point. And could you imagine the sign-off process?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I wanna change this bit of carpet. Like, you can't just do that, bro. You have to. There'd probably be 15 sign-offs before you're allowed to make a move.
Yeah, and everything is a security risk. Like, any time any change needs to be made to any part of the royal family's operating procedure, it's a massive security risk and has its own security evaluation. You know, like, you've got to do background checks on the dude who's coming to replace that wall fitting, because that could be a spy. And there's just, oh my god, everything is just lengthened and it's going to cost way more.
Would it interest you to know that there are some laws that do not apply to the Queen? Most of them are in her name, so she can't be subject to the law. Most of them.
What does that mean, in her name, so she can't be subject?
So the Queen says, I'm making these things exist. And because she makes these things exist, they can't apply to her. She can't reign over herself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, for example, the Queen is actually the only person on the planet who is not required to have a passport or a driver's license. Because they're issued by her, and she can't issue documents to herself.
So she just doesn't require them?
No. So what happens when she travels, because she obviously does, is her officials work to supply the required information to the other country, because they come in good faith, so they supply the information, but they cannot produce a passport. because she cannot have one the way passport law is designed, and that's by mutual agreement by many countries. Because of the way it's been designed, she literally can't have one.
It's interesting. Well, next time I turn up to the airport, I just book under the Queen, and then I don't need my passport.
But it is a thing, and there's other strange laws that I've completely forgotten about and feel stink about, that the British family can't be subject to. But
what about murder? Like, can she kill someone? Because that would be an interesting loophole. Imagine the Queen's just like this massive, ferocious hit lady that's just the Queen because she doesn't mind taking people out.
I think the uncomfortable truth is that if she was ever found to be responsible for such a thing, I'm not sure that she could be accountable for it. Is what I've been told in the past.
What sort of court does that go through?
Exactly, especially when they're in her name. Like, if you look at the laws of New Zealand, and if you look at who the ministers of government actually serve, I've read lots of documents, and I'm just going to blow it out of the water right now. You know, that they serve at the pleasure of Her Majesty the Queen.
And I was going to say, I heard over the radio today that, you know, a few of the ministers were swearing in today and accepting their positions. A few of them were trying to be a bit cheeky and leave out that they serve it as the area of majesty. So.
And that's, like, doesn't that blow your mind though? Because imagine realizing that government ministers don't serve you, they serve Her Majesty the Queen. Like, isn't that something to think about?
It is. I mean, most people, I guess, qualify that by saying it's largely a formality, and that they are, you know, for the most part, independent and operate for the best interests of New Zealand citizens, and that the influence of the monarchy is dwindling in this country. That's probably what, I mean, I would probably be comfortable saying that. But it's still an issue.
That's as logical as saying I kissed my ex the night before my wedding is a formality. That makes no sense at all. Yeah.
Well, I mean, for us, we never see the influence from the UK or from the royal family. Like, you don't see it publicly that they don't, you know, sign off on any of our laws. I've never seen a bill go through all the way through Parliament and then get, you know, like, sniped by the royal family and taken out. Like, from your lifetime, do you have any examples?
Pause. Yes, I do.
Cool.
The end of life choice bill had royal ascension to get it to where it is.
What?
The Governor General, who is a representative locally in this country on behalf of Her Majesty, signed an order to ensure, well, not to ensure, but to give the end of life choice bill a better chance of passing, called the Royal Ascension.
I thought everything gets royal assent.
No, man. No. It's the first time in many years that anything has had royal assent. Many years.
Why wasn't that talked about?
If you remember, it was our good friend Huhana Hickey that dropped that on me.
Ah.
She dropped that on me. She dropped that on you.
Clearly lost on me.
Yeah, no, the Governor General signing special orders to give bills a better chance of passing is not seen. that ensures that it largely passes committee process.
And in that case, from my understanding and my knowledge too, those people who were on the working group to actually discuss the bill disagreed with the bill, and there was not enough safeguards in place, so it was obviously pushed through.
The Governor General getting involved in law is ill-advisable, actually, but because it's seen as undue influence from Her Royal Highness. But in this case, it seemed to be like, okay. And as I say, if there are any fact checkers, scholars, anybody that studies this thing as a thing, I know I've broadly got my facts right, but if you want to come in the comments and just pad it out for us, I'd welcome that. So, I think that's a really good place to leave it as far as I'm concerned. Should we do a whip around on final thoughts? Simon, it's been a great evening, mate. What are your final thoughts for the evening?
I think we've had some pretty good discussion. Well done for everybody's contribution to the stream. I had a lot of fun.
90 minutes of pure bantery.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, it all kind of flowed naturally as well. The segues weren't forced at all. Great question of the week as always. I got really selfish and used you as a way to improve my life and tried to remove external validation, so that was good. You know,
that's called focus testing.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Yeah, I've realised I was quite thankful that I haven't been exposed to some serious choosing beggars in my life yet, touching some wood, and you know, talked a little bit about the biggest gang one of the most powerful gangs in the world, the royal family,
notorious crime family.
Yes.
Great quotes from you tonight, Simon.
Oh my god, man, you've got to text me those. I need to be using them in my daily life.
Yeah, great quotes. Always great having good conversations with you. So thank you for tonight, gentlemen.
You lasted a whole stream for the first time in a while, Hannah.
It was this last time.
Yeah. Awesome. So for me, you know, I'm really stoked. Simon, thank you for sharing like your personal development stuff. I hope I opened some people's lives in terms of like the royal family and where they sit, and I like talking about the land conversation, and I hope it, like, even though we didn't come with like super like hard facts on everything and we don't have references to every sentence we said, I hope it inspires you to go out and research and have a look at the way the world works. And that you'll go out there and do your own research, and maybe you'll come back to this podcast, this live stream, and say, hey guys, you got something wrong. Those are the most interesting people that I'd love to hear from. Those that pick holes in everything that I've got to say. But for now, guys, thank you for being a part of the channel. Thank you for being a part of the journey.
Please stay awesome. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.
Boom! There, I did a noise for you, Simon. You normally do a noise at the end.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought Anna finished it off, but I was just... Yeah.
Alright. Bye, everybody!
Oh, right, we're still going. I thought that was it.